The Black Room, written by Khadija Grant. Copyright 2024 by Khadija Grant. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced or redistributed without express consent from the publisher. Dedications. This book is dedicated to the little Khadija who never gave up, to the young and beautiful mind who never lost her imagination, her drive, her passion for what it was she wanted out of life, despite the odds being stacked up against her. I love you. I'm proud of you. I admire you for staying pure and loving in the midst of the darkness. You are and will always be the best thing that has ever happened to me in life. Introduction. I'm about to give y'all some game that even the most successful people in the world would not be able to articulate because they are either in too deep or they've been in the game so long they've forgotten the feeling of that first hunger pain. They've totally forgotten what it was like to dribble the ball 1,000 times with the summer heat beating down their back, alone, no friends, barely any food in their stomach, while all they had was a dream and prayer. Many people forget. They forget when they have a private chef, penthouse views, and money that's giving them the girls, the cars, and anything else their heart desires. They write basic-ass books that become bestsellers. They get invited on the biggest podcasts and TV shows and give the same general answers that light up their fans' souls because, honestly, they don't know better. It's not that they are gatekeeping. It's not like they don't want to share their secret to success. But it's all about being able to tap back into their deepest pains in the beginning, the struggle, the lessons learned in that struggle, and having the time to truly articulate it in a way in which the average person can understand. But then they run into this problem, the same problem I run into. You're not average. So, how do you explain to someone who's never seen such a grueling work ethic, or who's never experienced a feeling so high off of a flow state you float into a spiritual realm? How do you explain the obsession? So most don't waste their time. And because most people don't even know it's such a thing, they take the crumbs given and try to build their own path to success, but most often it's still not enough. So, because my gift is writing in a way that I can put you in my shoes, or the shoes of my characters, I'm going to give you the game in my flow state, writing. I'm going to hand you over the secrets that even I didn't realize were there because I was too knee-deep in it too. I was on autopilot and just didn't have the time to see what I was in. But this right here is the most valuable game I can ever give you. I'm going to literally take you back. I'm going to show you that it wasn't what we were doing while wearing the gold chains, stunting on the world, flying private jets, and throwing stacks of money at naked ass in the club. But it was what was done in the Black Room. The decisions made, the consistency, the downright confidence that thickened the air that would suffocate anyone who wasn't about that life. What was done in the dark came full-fledged in the light. And I'm not talking about no evil shit, no sexing women. No, there was none of that. There were no drugs in the Black Room. Well, a little weed here and there. There wasn't no TV, no video games, no distractions. You see, when people think of darkness, they think some bad shit, like dark clouds over someone's head as they are dragging themselves through life or violence or just someone up to no good. But when you think about it, it's in the darkness that you appreciate the light. You can see things clearer. You feel more. It's like your senses are turned up like a blind man walking through a crowded intersection. While a normal person who's walking in the light can see things and get distracted, it's the blind man who can truly focus on the destination, who's completely aware and present each step of the way as if his life depends on it. All of his energy is geared towards getting where he needs to go, and although he may feel danger, he assesses, adjusts if necessary, and then continues to his destination. When someone is grinding and hustling in the dark, their lives are at risk. They have something to lose if they miss something. They have to rely on all senses and completely feel the heartbeat of everything around them. Try it. Walk down the street as a blind person and see how much of life you're missing. It's the darkness that shapes you. It's standing over the coffin of your mother, your father, or someone you love deeply that stops all time. As you look at them, you appreciate every second, Your senses are wide open. When you touch them for the last time, it's different. When you hug your loved ones at the burial site, that hits different. You are aware in the darkness. You are focused in the darkness. And that, my friend, is what makes the Black Room so magical. It was a place of pure darkness in the most beautiful way. It was hunger. It was joy. It was faith. It was fun. And when we shut those glass doors, we locked out all outside noise, stress, or doubt. The frequency was so high in the Black Room, it would choke your ass out if you came in there talking shit that didn't have anything to do with the vision. And it was a big vision. The vision went from, the goal is to make $3,000 today to $12,000 in a day to making $1 million a month. The vision went from making homeschool curriculums to what if we built an online academy for kids. It was, these people are not learning and applying the information. We're giving them books, courses, masterclasses. Let's invest a few $100,000 and make a game board. So, let's dive into it. Let's enter the darkness, and if you're already in the darkness, that's even better. Appreciate it. Enjoy it. Learn from it. Because one day when you're in your Lambo, wearing all the gold chains your poor neck can handle living in one of 10 homes, you're going to wish for days you can go back to the Black Room. You're going to long for your senses to be wide open again. You're going to wish for those nights of darkness because, believe it or not, when what's done in the dark comes to light, it just isn't as fun. Chapter 1. The Birth of the Black Room. The Black Room was created in the midst of a lot of pain. It was a back-end room set apart from the rest of the home. It could have been a back patio, it could have been a storage space, or it could have been a bedroom, but Derek turned it into the Black Room. He turned it into the Black Room so he could have a place to think, to create, and to block out his world, so that he could become who he wanted and build the empire he envisioned, and we all have that Black Room. A lot of us just use it to store clothes, dirty clothes, or abandoned household trash. We use it to accumulate neglected items, sweep dirt in from cleaner parts of the house, and leave it for later. We all have it, at least one. But it's all about what you do with it. It's all about valuing the darkness, the most neglected parts of you. When I was writing my first book, the classic, the bestseller, The Influenced, I wrote it in a dark, small closet. I had clothes hanging over my head, dirty socks scattered on the floor, and clothes spilling from the laundry basket. But it was my space. It was my safe space. The closet was where I could rid myself of the nightmares that kept plaguing me night after night. My brother getting whipped to pure exhaustion. My mother yelling for him to stop. The banging of the bathroom door. There was a lot of pain there. There was a lot of darkness. And when I couldn't close my eyes and find peace, I ran my little tail into that closet, like a little child. My inner child running for safety, and I wrote every fear down. I conjured courage there, understanding. I funneled those demons that haunted me there, and I wrote in the dark. I freed myself there. It went from me writing about the most horrible moments in my life to becoming a place where I could create any world I envisioned. My darkness became my power, my anecdote. I was a best-selling author in that closet before I'd won any award. Before anyone knew my name, I was the mother I needed. I was the father I needed, the friend I needed in that dark little room. The Black Room reminds you of who you are. When you walk in there, you aren't some average Joe. You are a star. You glow differently, the butterflies lift your spirit, and you're simply high off you. You can't get enough. You walk like you're the shit because you are. And when you walk out, things could seem different in the outside world. But the Black Room is where you practice being who you said you wanted to be, so you come out stronger day by day. Find a space where you indulge in being who it is you want to be, no matter what the outside world sees. That's how you become great. That's when you start to do magical shit. That's why the Black Room is so important. While the Black Room was an escape from the outside world, once we left the room, real life and reality hit. For Derek, he struggled keeping the lights on in the earlier years. His kids were hungry, and the people around him, the very people he was fighting so hard to take care of once he'd made it, didn't even want him to make it. There was pressure. There was pressure to get a real job. There was pressure to stop spending so much time on your passion. There was not having experience and not having guidance when it came to how business really worked. I went through the same thing while in every single black room I've ever wished to bury myself in. The reality was so crazy that I wished I could hibernate forever in my black room. I was told I failed as a mother. I was told I wasn't shit because I couldn't afford to buy my kids a coat in the winter. I was taking too many risks. I needed to get a job. I was shamed for not coming to family gatherings, where people only asked questions that confirmed their belief that I was a failure. I'd look out the window every time I heard a heavy truck pulling in the parking lot, hoping it wasn't the repo man. I'd wish and pray the apartment manager would forget my existence, forget my name as I slid through the back gate to fetch my mail, hoping it wasn't an eviction notice. Yeah, I loved the black room. It was my escape. It was a place I could dream of being the person I wanted to be. But not only dream, but do the work, because walking outside sometimes and facing reality could be too hard to bear. For both myself and Derek, there were choices that had to be made earlier on. It was that decision, that big decision Will Smith talks about when it comes to not having a plan B. Do I get a job, or do I tattoo my face so I could never have the option to get a job? Do I go out at night and blow $1,000 on ass and titties, or do I stay home and skim through 100 books until I find the answer? Do I spend money on that nasty-ass Raising Cane's, or do I grab a loaf of bread, some sandwich meat, and call it a day? The black room was about sacrifice. It was about being the person you envisioned day in and day out, even if it meant not buying clothes for years or not having a car. It was about not buying new furniture, even though you knew the BBC News was coming to your house to interview you in front of the world. It was about not showing off anything except what mattered, which was guns, an old marker-stained whiteboard, crayon-scribbled doors by free-thinking toddlers in diapers, and a wall full of books. What are you willing to sacrifice to become the person you need to become to get what it is you want from this world? What you decide to do in the darkness will dictate who you become once you come into the light. Now, the black room can look like many different things to many different people. For Michael Jackson, it probably was the living room of Gary, Indiana, from sun up to sundown before everything came to light. Motown. For Steve Harvey, it was getting booed off of stages and sleeping in his car. Eric Thomas living in abandoned buildings. For Kanye West, it was a college dorm. For the Dungeon family, it was the basement. The black room is a place where you go through a lot of pain and a lot of chaos, but it's at that moment where you decide just who you're going to become when you make it up out of there. You see, many people are glorified after they've stepped out of the black room. They are already polished, smiling, having overcome so much shit, and they are oftentimes glowing. It's as if shining a piece of coal into a diamond for years, but people only noticing its value once it's set in a ring, a necklace, or a beautiful piece of gold. Life is about stages, levels, and evolution. Even with rappers and athletes, if you go back and see who they were before the fame and the money, they looked different, acted differently, and were just not as confident. They had to get through something to get to where they are. They had to be molded, guided, and influenced in ways in order to present themselves as the character most of us see today. I remember watching the making of Mindless Behavior, a popular boy group, about 10 years ago. It took their team 2 years of developing them before they hit a major stage. 2 years. And within those years, you could see their fears, their mistakes, the physical stress, the jealousy, family struggles, financial struggles, and how some of them almost didn't make it. If it wasn't for the documentary, you would think they became famous overnight. You can even see this in politics as well. If you go back and look at footage from Senator Barack Obama to footage of President Barack Obama, you can see a very clear and distinguished energy shift. His confidence is at the top level, his swag, and even the way he walks. Environments, opportunities, and the people around us can often change us, and over time, we become stronger, more confident, and dominant in the field we are in. But we all have to go through a stage of darkness. We all have to lose friends and gain enemies. There is no success story without the dark side. Everyone has a black room. In the black room, you have two choices. Just two. It's simple. It's straightforward. You either use the darkness to mold you into the person you need to be to achieve your dreams, or you just let yourself go in the darkness, allowing the environment to shape you as it sees fit. If you choose to build yourself up, you must be intentional about it. There are certain habits, routines, and accessing you must do to build a strong foundation. You won't be in the dark forever. There will be a time when you have to come out and face the world, get on that stage, and present yourself. What's done in the dark must eventually come to light, and it's usually in the dark where you go through the most shit. It reminds me of Wallow and other ex-inmates who developed themselves while in prison, got out, became multimillionaires, and became some of the most influential voices of our time. They knew who they needed to be when they got out, and so they took advantage of the time they had in the prison to develop. They made a decision. They were in a dreary cell reading books, sticking to a set fitness routine, meditating, and holding a vicious regimen so that by the time they got out, their habits and grind were light years ahead of people out here struggling just to get out of bed and make a post in normal society. It's a choice. You always have to remember that it's not about the products you sell or even the ideas you come up with. It's about who you develop into in the black room, in your darkest moments. It's about the habits you develop. It's about what you revert to when you get mad. Do you indulge in drugs when you're angry or depressed? Do you speak down on yourself when things go wrong? Who are you in the black room? How well do you adapt to adversity? And what is it that you do with the energy life gives you on a day-to-day basis, whether it's energy from someone calling you a loser or energy from the birth of your child? For some people, they use the energy to further dig themselves into a well of depression, while others use it to build themselves up. And for us, that was what the black room was, a place to practice being a millionaire before we were millionaires. It was an incubator. Little by little, we took what we were conjuring up within the black room until it started to just naturally play out in the light. Now, Derek was doing this before I met him. He had a driver before he made it big. He was booking events in London before he made it big. He was funding his own tours around the country, paying for guest speakers before the Busta Rhymes calls and T.I. invites. He created the life he wanted by walking as if he'd already had it. Instead of spending money on jewelry, he spent it on marketing. He spent it on events where he could reach the masses. He worked like he was already a millionaire day in and day out. He took risks as if he could afford to lose. When you're investing all of this in yourself, you can't help but to believe you are already the shit. You can't help but walk with confidence and speak with your chest. So, let's break it down a little bit. Let's talk about some of the things we did before we made the millions that we had to continue doing while making the millions. Let's go over some of the habits we created, the vision, and let's touch on the beauty of the process. It looks so complicated when you're looking at the finished product, like how did that person get to where they are? It must have taken a lot. Well, not always. Most of the time it takes doing something simple over and over again. It takes baby steps. You can slowly integrate the life you want into the life you have little by little until the life you want completely takes over the life you have. And contrary to belief, you don't have to master everything at once. You can develop things over time. It's nothing more than a set of habits, things you'll do in the black room that turn ordinary visions into great success. Start playing with different things to see if the puzzle piece fits, and before you know it, you'll complete the bigger picture.